Welcome to episode 72 of the Valley Sports Talk podcast. We are in the dog days of sports, as some people would call them. The only major sport on right now. There's four major sports being NBA, NHL, NFL, and MLB. The only major sport that is going on right now is the MLB. We know enough about baseball. We could talk about it, but we figured you guys are probably here for some NFL, NHL, and possibly NBA talk. So we're gonna keep talking about that, even though it's in the dog days of summer. There's a trade currently in the works in the NBA that we will talk about quickly, and then the NHL Hall of Fame inductee class of 2023 was announced literally an hour ago as we were recording this. So we're going to talk a bit about that, and I believe Brandon said he has a couple quizzes, and then I'm going to actually quiz Brandon on something, knowing Brandon and how we think, he probably has this, is going to ask me the same things that I have in mind, but we'll see how that goes.
No, I think mine's different,
Okay, that's always a good thing.
but it might be the same.
We'll get the NBA talk out of the way quick. I was in the gym, and in between sets, I was on Twitter, and Shams had tweeted that they're in deep talks of a three-way trade. It's between the Celtics, the Wizards, and the Clippers. The Wizards would be sending Kristaps Porzingis to the Celtics. The Clippers would be getting Malcolm Brogdon, and the Wizards would be getting Marcus Morris and draft compensation. My assumption would be that the Wizards would probably buy out Marcus Morris. As the way that they're going, they're finally looking like they're going to be doing a complete rebuild, which they should have done a while ago, as they traded Beal last. Oh, we didn't talk about the Bradley Beal trade.
No,
That
we have
happened.
not. That happened. Yes, that did
That did
happen.
happen. Anyways, or not the Clippers, the Wizards are finally looking like they're going through their complete rebuild. So
About time.
about time, yeah. No kidding.
Honestly, it's smart for the Wizards because they've been a very bad NBA team with not a lot of cap space and not a lot of young players, which is, if you like we say all the time, if you're gonna be bad, you might as well be young. And they were bad and old, but getting rid of Bradley Beal and starting to get rid of Kristaps Porzingis, obviously they're going to get some draft capital back, like you said, and finally start not being a middle of the pack 10-9-8 seed. Was good to see.
Yeah, I think like the trade that not the Bradley Beal trade, I'll talk about the Kristaps one. If it does go through, I think it's a win-win-win for every team. Marcus Morris, he seems like him and his brother both seem like just not very good team players. They seem very self-centered. I know he was complaining a bit about his minutes and his role. So I feel like getting him off the Clippers is good. I feel like I said, I think the Wizards will buy him out as he's a expiring contract, and it doesn't really make sense because he's an older player. Um, and like a championship team would want him if they can control his emotions. The Clippers get a starting point guard, Malcolm Brogdon, who was a six man this year, as he won six man of the year this year. Um, but I still think it's a good. I think he'll slot in. He's a great defensive 3-and-D point guard, and he can help take pressure off Kawhi and PG at some points. And then the Celtics, they get Kristaps Porzingis, who's arguably probably the best player in this deal. Um, they get a big man that can stretch the floor and can protect the rim. So I think it's a win-win-win trade.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to give my analysis of the soon to be traded, basically what you said, so I'm not going to waste your time. What do you think? Obviously, Kristaps Porzingis makes a lot of money. Um, I would assume they'd be running a starting lineup of Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, and probably Robert Williams. Um, which means on your bench you would have a 27 million player in Al Horford just sitting there. Do you think they do anything with Al Horford? Because 27 million is a lot of money just to be sitting there. And again, he's 37 years old. So
I would honestly not be surprised if Al Horford started majority of his time this year at the four. So I would honestly have Robert Williams off the bench and have Al Horford starting, is what they did a lot this year. Um, Chris,
I could see that too, but he's Robert Williams. He's in my eyes, he's a really good basketball player, and I feel
I
like
think he is too, but I think Kristaps Porzingis is like a better version of him, because we know he's obviously not the defense, but Kristaps Porzingis is 7'3", can stretch the floor, and can still be a good protector. And I think having Robert Williams, obviously Al Horford, like you say, he's 37. He had a really good year this year. Like even as a 37-year-old, he did what he was supposed to do, which was knock down threes, and he still played great defense at the age of 37. So I think it's almost like a good problem to have if you're the Celtics. Having these three big men that you can all three of them can run the center. Kristaps can run the four. Al Horford can run the four. Those two can stretch the floor. Well, Robert Williams can be the post presence and the rim protector. So I think it's a good problem to have. And they still have a guy like Derek White coming off the bench. Um, Peyton Pritchard. They have some guys that are on the bench. They're a really deep team, and having star players like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, it's kind of scary if they can get Porzingis. They've been to the finals the last but they've been in the finals the last 2 years and haven't lost both years. Oh no, not this year, sorry. Conference finals this year, but still.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. If we're going off that, your bench would be Robert Williams, Gallinari,
Derek
uh,
White, who's great. I
Derek
think he's
White.
so underrated.
Pardon?
I think Derek White's so underrated.
Yeah, 100%. And Peyton Pritchard. I guess if you're adding a contract like Kristaps Porzingis, you're probably saying bye to Grant Williams, who I didn't realize is only 24 years old. He just seems like he's been around for a long time, but he's a free agent with no like team or player rights, I believe. So I mean, he was making $4 million last year, so you're probably saying bye to him, who was pretty electric off the bench. But I mean, if you're getting Kristaps Porzingis, I mean, I guess you can you can you can justify it a little bit.
I saw a
Uh,
lot of Grant Williams sign and trade to the Mavericks, which means that the Celtics would get something back for him, which I think would be a win because I think they could get like a decent little depth bench piece. Like I don't think it'll be anybody better than Grant Williams, obviously, because the sign and trade usually the team is getting the player in the sign and trade is the better side of the deal. But I think that they can get a depth piece and maybe a second round pick for him, and at least they're not letting him go for nothing.
yeah. So my last question would be not out of these two teams because I don't know about you, but I think the Celtics have a better chance if this trade were to go through. I think the Celtics would have a better chance than the Suns of winning next year.
I
I
would
don't know
totally
about
agree.
you, but that's just how I feel at this current moment. But um, between like the Suns where they were before the trade and the Suns where they are now, and the Celtics before the trade, and I mean the trade is based going through.
It's in deep
It's
talk.
pretty sure a sure thing here. So whose chances of winning do you think went up? The Suns after their trade or the Celtics after their trade?
The way it seems that I think it's the Celtics because
Me
I
too.
know me and you already talked about this off podcast a bit, but the Phoenix bench is just going to be a bunch of
What
delivery
bench?
drivers.
I think they're playing five guys 48 minutes.
Like they have Josh Okogie. Other than that, I don't even know who else. Campaign. Like sure he's a good point guard, but he's not a scorer off the bench.
They have
Like
five players signed to NBA contracts right now.
like we named four players that could arguably start on a team and be a good fifth man that are coming off the bench for the Boston Celtics, and they're doing this without giving up like a first round pick or anything. Like they can still go out and make another trade to get some more depth. And I'm sure they're going to sign some people in free agency to like minimum level deals, stuff like that. But I don't know. I like obviously Bradley Beal's a great player, all-star player, but one, the defense is going to be terrible. Booker and Beal are not good defensive players. Booker's an all right, but Beal is not a defensive player at all. And like you said, they have five guys signed, and three of the four guys, or four of the five guys are getting paid over $25 million. Like, how are you
Yep.
going to be able to afford a decent bench? I know we stated in another podcast that Phoenix had the lowest bench point per game in the NBA playoffs this year. And then they're not even gonna have a better bench this year. They're gonna have a worse bench than they did this year. So I think that if this trade does go through, I think the Boston Celtics should be the favorites going into next season.
No, I totally agree. And I feel like if you're the Suns, you kind of have to look at all DeAndre Ayton trades you can because you got to make up salary somewhere. And
I think
And
if
I
they
feel
can
like,
trade DeAndre Ayton and get like 2 to 3 bench pieces, and then
yeah,
maybe sign like a suitable starting defensive center that can complement the 3 guys, the 3 stars you have, I would totally do that.
yeah, like you said, you like Bradley Beal, D Book, and Kevin
KD
Durant will
and D
get
Book are
you.
like all right defensive players, but I don't think Bradley Beal plays a lick of defense in his life.
No, that's my point. Like them three combined are gonna score 80% of your points. So it's not like if you're making a trade, like you don't have to sign point scoring players. You have to sign
And
just defensive depth.
we've already seen that KD cannot play a full season anymore. Like he's an injury a year type of player now.
Well, and same with Bradley Beal. He hasn't played a full season in a couple years.
The only player on that is like good right now for them to start is Devin Booker. I mean, even he had a decent injury this year, I think, right? If I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken, he was out
Yeah,
for.
yeah, no, you're not wrong. I mean, I'm not going to judge Bradley Beal on his injuries because when you're playing on a 11 seed Wizards and you have a little tweak, you're
You're gonna
more
sit
likely
out.
not going to play, right? So, I mean,
Totally.
yeah, but there's definitely injury history there. Last NBA question. Um, where do you see Chris Paul playing this year?
See, this is weird. This trade, like, I would totally could see it if it was him going to the Clippers instead of Malcolm Brogdon, because like
Well, yeah, not to cut you off, but CP3 is linked to both LA teams right now.
is what?
Linked to both LA
Yeah,
teams.
100%. I
Yeah.
I honestly, other than those two, maybe Miami. I could see him going to Miami if they can get him a cheap deal, or if they can, unload Duncan Robin's salary for him or something to the Wizards. I could see that. But honestly, if I had to make bets, it's got to be the Lakers. I think this Clippers deal, getting Malcolm Brogdon, puts Chris Paul sort of out of the running to the Clippers. Um, I could totally see the Lakers on like a. Honestly, I could see him. He's been paid so much money in his career. I would not be surprised if he just signs like a veteran minimum contract to go to the Lakers and try to chase a ring with LeBron. He's already really good friends with LeBron, so he would not shock me.
Yeah, that's my kind of guess too. I think Russell Westbrook really fit in well with the Clippers, and I feel like um he might be their target instead of CP3. And if I'm the Clippers, I think Westbrook fits their build more than CP3 anyways. Because like you said, um, well, not like you've said, but we've been talking a lot about injuries, and you can't count on Chris Paul or Kawhi Leonard playing a full season, and you can't really count on CP3 playing one too. So I think Russell Westbrook's the better fit there in Clippers at the Clippers, but I think the Lakers would be a great fit for CP3 for sure. Um, before we head into the Hockey Hall of Fame, just quickly, your thoughts on OEL being bought out.
I mean, I feel like they could have got something for him. It's not like he's a terrible defenseman. He's an above average defenseman. It just shows you how bad of a GM Jim Benning was. Like now they're paying. I don't even know what the buyout structure is. You might know what it is better than I am, but I know they're paying him
A
like
lot.
for like the next 8 years, like at least 2 million. It's just it's dumb, so dumb.
It gets up to like 4 mil, I think, by the end of it.
I don't know how you couldn't get anything for him. Like even if they took like 25% of his salary, I feel like a team would bite to have him. I think he's still a top four defenseman. I think he could still play the fourth defenseman role, 100%.
See, that's funny. I thought we were going to debate a little bit because where I'm kind of leading you off into is like where is he going to end up, and my argument was going to be that he's still a good defenseman. I kind of thought you would have just been on the because a lot of people are saying he's a trash defenseman. I
No,
kind of thought
I
where
still
you would
think
have been too,
I
but
still think he could fit on a championship team as like a fourth or fifth D. I don't think he's a top
that's
three guy.
crazy because that's exactly where I was going to go with that. A lot of people are saying like go to a rebuilder, but if like he's already making a ton of money with the buyout, if like a and he the problem is he was being played on a terrible Vancouver team, like mid 20-minute games, mid 20-minute per
Per
game
game.
player. Where if he, like you said, if he like, let's just a team we both know very well. Let's say he goes to the Leafs, okay, and he plays like third pair of minutes with a guy like Timothy Liljegren for like $2 or $3 million. When I'm not saying the Leafs, but like a situation like that
I think
makes your team a lot better.
I think he's just been in bad situations his whole career. First Arizona and now Vancouver.
100%.
I think if he goes to a good situation, on a team that is competing for a championship and he's like their fourth or fifth option, I think he can flourish in that role.
I totally agree. Um, Obviously moving on to the Hockey Hall of Fame, we had 5 players
First ever
and
3 goalie class. I know. Did you notice
yeah,
that?
yes, I did. The first one I want to go to is, oh, I'm terrible with names, but I will try. Maybe you can help me out. We're gonna get the management people out of the way. First, we got Pierre Lacroix.
Lacroix.
I, I couldn't tell you yet. General manager and president for the Colorado Avalanche. Um, Won 2 Stanley Cups. Was responsible for quite a lot of trades. He was the guy who got Patrick Waugh to Colorado, and he made some pretty big trades. Died a couple years ago for COVID, which I didn't realize. Um, but yeah, so that's the first one. I mean, there's not much for us to talk about. He was a general manager when we weren't even alive, and he was winning Stanley Cups. Both of his Stanley Cups he won. Neither of us were alive, but we both know those late 90s Colorado teams were wagons, and he was the one who built them, so good for him. Next we got Ken Hitchcock, who we both know a little bit better.
A little bit.
Um, I don't think did he ever win a Stanley Cup?
Not sure.
I'm not sure.
Maybe in his earlier
I know
years.
he won one Jack Adams. Yeah, he won one Jack Adams with the St. Louis Blues. He took over really early into the season. When he took over, they were 6-7. And then the last games when he was a coach, they went 43, 15, and 11, finishing first in the division with 109 points. I think it's the best season in St. Louis Blues history. I could be
I believe
wrong.
so.
Um, they didn't end up winning a cup. Is this they got swept by LA in the second round. I think LA won the cup in 2012. I think that
2012.
was their first one. So they lost the Stanley Cup champions. I want you. Here's my first quiz question. Okay,
Jeez.
because this I looked at the roster and it brought some names back. Can you name the top scoring player in the regular season on this team?
On St. Louis?
St. Louis 2011, 2012.
Oh, jeez.
2 players tied for the top.
Like Alexander Steen, is he there?
Alexander Steen was here. He finished with 28 points. He
Ooh.
only played 43 games this year.
2011, 2012.
I'll give you this team finished with 109 points, and the top scoring player only had 54 points.
Was Keith Tkachuk there at that year?
Keith Tkachuk was not there.
He was retired by then.
One of these players, there's 2 players that are tied for the top. One of these guys is still playing in the NHL, won a cup. This will be a huge hint against Vegas. Not with Vegas, against Vegas. Noah's just gone for a loop here. Come on now. Player would have played on St. Louis.
It would have been like was Oshie in the league by then?
TJ Oshie, 25 years old, had 54 points, tied
He
with
must have been young. Okay, so other players
20.
it wouldn't have been. I know Pietrangelo would have been on that team, but I don't think he was as a defenseman.
So listen to this team. This for winning the division, having 109 points. This was a super young team, and I guess it makes sense because St. Louis was really good, basically from 2012 to now. So it makes sense this team was young. Tied with TJ Oshie was David Backes.
Oh, David, he was their captain.
Yeah, in third you had a 22-year-old Alex Pietrangelo, a 23-year-old Kevin Shattenkirk, a 23-year-old David Perron. Like, oh, this team was young, very young. They had like a Chris Russell back when he was young and projected to be decent, a young Roman Polak, Leafs legend, a 22-year-old Ian Cole, a 19-year-old Jaden Schwartz. Like,
Wow.
and their goalies were Halak and Brian Elliott, who both were 26, and then they both got hurt in the playoffs, and Jake Allen at 21 played one game.
Wow.
It was a super young team and a lot of good NHL players.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, so that was fun. Next, I was looking at Ken Hitchcock. Yeah, I was looking at his hockey DB. He head coached a lot more teams than I thought. He head coached one, two, three, four, five, six NHL teams. Sorry, one, two, three, four, five NHL teams. Can you name how many of them do you think you can name?
Honestly, probably none.
Well, you can name St. Louis.
But yeah, obviously. So what? He coached five others other than St. Louis.
Four. Four.
Cool.
I before looking at this list, I would have been able to get two of them. But five, I only would have been able to get two of the five. We got a lot to get through, so I'll just tell you. His first head coaching job was with Dallas for 7 years.
Hmm.
He then moved to Philly for 4, then Columbus for 4, then St. Louis for 6, and then he ended his career off. He went back to Dallas, and then this is the only other one I remember. He was the head coach of Edmonton for 1 year.
I didn't even know that he was head coach at Edmonton.
I do remember that just because it was, I think it might have been the first year McDavid made the playoffs. Ken Hitchcock
Oh
was the
yes,
coach
okay,
there.
yeah. He coached the young McDavid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So probably the biggest known name going into the Hockey Hall of Fame this year, we get Henrik Lundqvist. Um, Spent his whole career with the Rangers. Never won a Stanley Cup, unfortunately. Um, I did he ever win a Vezina?
He won one.
Did he win a Vezina? He won a Vezina. Okay, he was obviously a seventh round draft pick in the NHL, like one of the best seventh round picks in history. Um, but yeah, the good for him. He's the youngest in this Hockey Hall of Fame inductee list by about 20 years. Like I think this is his first year of eligibility, so first ballot Hall of Famer. I don't think there's anybody upset about that. He had a great
Hot
career.
take. He's one of the most overrated goalies in history.
Noah's also a Pittsburgh fan, so
I'm not saying that as a Pittsburgh fan. I'm saying that as a hockey fan. I just think he always had good teams ahead in front of him.
well, yeah, most goalies do. That's how most goalies look pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, we can probably agree on one thing about Henrik Lundqvist. Anyways, probably the best looking hockey player of all time.
Give you that one.
Oh God, I lost the hockey DB page. You got the other names? I've lost them.
Yeah. I got Tom Brasso, uh, another goalie, played for Buffalo and Pittsburgh. He was drafted by Toronto though. Two-time Stanley Cup winner, one Vezina and a Calder, and he holds the most wins or second most in wins in a Pittsburgh Penguins history, only one behind or second behind obviously Marc-Andre Fleury. Then we have Mike Vernon, who's another two-time Stanley Cup winner. Played 782 games, which is a lot. Winning record. He's Canadian, and then he won Conn Smythe. I believe he's one of the few goalies to ever win Conn Smythe. Whenever Calgary won it in '97, I believe. And then the only female, Karen Willett, who I've actually met and had a signature. I have her signature. Obviously one of Canada's best female hockey players. She has 4 Olympic gold medals, which is pretty nuts considering the Olympics
Yeah.
are only every 4 years. 6 world champion gold, 6 silvers. And she's always been she was always known as one of the best Canadian women hockey players to play. So well
Yeah,
deserving.
for sure. well deserving. I don't know if you mentioned Pierre Turgon.
Turgon. Yeah, he was my next one.
He's the last one who was inducted. I actually had I've actually, as a hockey fan, I'm kind of embarrassed. I've never heard of this guy. Um, was drafted first overall by Buffalo. I have his stats right here
I got
in
them.
the queue. In the queue, he played 58 games his final year and had 154 points. That's nuts. He came into the league with Buffalo in his second year, put up 88 points. His third year put up 106. Was then traded to the Islanders, where he put up an 132-point season, 58 goals, and then again was traded to Montreal, where he had another 96-point season with Montreal. Traded to St. Louis, where he was basically a point a game player. Then got traded to Dallas by the end of his career, kind of started to drop off, and then played his last season with Colorado. But over a point per game player in his career, basically 1,300 games and just over 1,300 points. Looking at his playoff stats, he never made many deep runs. The most games he played in a season in the playoffs was 15. Basically a point per game in the playoffs as well. So I'm surprised I've never heard of this guy before. He played in the World Juniors. Uh, doesn't look like he won there. He only had 6 games played, but all in all, he was a point getter who got traded many times in his career for getting that many points.
For sure. Okay, so that's it for the class. Um, one sec. I had it here. I'm gonna give you a couple guys
Noah
that
has
um there was a I had it up. One sec.
Yeah, you're struggling. While Noah's figuring that out, I know last podcast Noah had his little bragging moment about our beer Olympics. We had another big weekend last weekend. It was very busy. We were in a baseball tournament and a golf tournament in the same weekend, so that was hard to juggle, but we did a pretty good job. We did a 5-man golf scramble. We finished 6 under, third place, but we did win best dressed. We dressed up as Freddie Mercury, lead singer of Queen. Pretty funny outfit. And then in baseball, we lost in the finals by 4 runs. So all in all, pretty good weekend for us, sport wise.
Okay,
Didn't
so
come on with any
go
championships,
ahead.
but was there.
Sorry.
All
So
you.
before we end it off, as we run out of time, I don't know if you have anything more, but I have two things I want to bring you through.
I got a quick quiz.
Okay, so these are some of the players that were eligible for the first time this year, and I'm going to bring you through them. And I just want you to give me a really quick yes or no if you think they'll ever make the Hall of Fame. Okay.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Jay Bomeister.
Ooh. Yes.
Okay. Ron Hainsey.
No.
Alexander Steen.
No.
Justin Williams.
Yes.
Corey Crawford.
Yeah, 100%.
And Jimmy Howard.
100%.
Okay.
Is there any you disagree with me?
Um, did you say yes for Ron Hainsey?
No.
Okay, I don't know if Bomeister gets it. And I don't
That's
think
that's the one I didn't answer
and
right away.
I also don't think Jimmy Howard's as much of a gimme as you made it seem like he is. I think he will get in, but I don't
Fair.
think he's as much as, like you said, 100%. I don't think he's as much of a gimme as you made it seem.
Fair enough. He just won cups, but there's
Uh,
some pretty good Detroit teams.
and now I'm gonna
Um,
need
quickly, it's not,
you go ahead, go ahead.
okay, it's not really a quiz. It's just I want to see in like I'll give you like 2 or 3 minutes. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but the 10 since it's almost Canada Day, we're getting close. We're getting like a week out. I want to see if you can tell me the
Less than a week.
top
It's
10
not
highest paid. Pardon?
we're less than a week, are we not? No, we're a week and a half. Never mind, go
Like
on.
a week. The top 10 highest paid Canadian athletes at this current
Canadian
moment. I want
athletes?
to see. Yeah.
Okay, I can try my best. Oh, I
There's
didn't.
some couple obvious ones out there.
Okay, is Alfonso Davies on there?
Not in the top 10.
Really? Okay. I gotta think other sports. Who's Canadian.
It's three different sports. They're all in three different sports.
Is Connor McDavid in there?
Connor McDavid is number 9.
Number 9. Okay, is Nathan McKinnon's in there then?
Number 8.
Uh,
Now you're down to 2 sports. There's no more hockey
I
players.
didn't think there's anyone hockey. Is Jamal Murray in there?
Jamal Murray's number 2.
Is Shea in there?
Shea's number 1, the highest paid Canadian athlete.
Good for him. It's gonna be like freaking soccer or something. I'm not gonna know.
Soccer is not one of the sports.
Soccer's not.
Baseball is the other sport. Baseball is the other sport.
Baseball. Canadian baseball players. Canadian baseball players. Is Vladdy in there? I know he's not making a lot in arbitration.
Vladdy's number 7.
Okay, yeah, I knew
Vladdy's number
a lot in
7.
arbitration. Canadian baseball. Joey Votto.
Joey Votto's number 5. You're just down to basketball now. You only got 4 more. I think you'll get 2 of them.
Do I have number 3 down yet?
You do not have number 3. You're missing 3, 4, 6, and 10.
3, 4, 6. Is Lou Dort in there?
Lou Dort's number 6. I didn't think you'd get that one.
Okay. Number 3 basketball player, another Canadian basketball player.
You're missing 2 very
Is
well-known
Chris Boucher
Canadians.
in there? Does he make enough?
No, you're missing 2
Does
very
Dwight
well-known.
Powell make enough?
No.
Does Andrew Wiggins make enough? Yeah, Andrew
Andrew
Wiggins.
Wiggins number 3.
And so I'm missing 6. What you said?
You're
6,
missing 4 and 10.
and they're both basketball.
Mm-hmm. One is very good. Very good. Probably a third option on his team. Eastern Conference made the playoffs this year. He's a wing who likes to shoot a lot of threes. Pretty young.
Hey. Oh, RJ
Pretty
Barrett.
young. RJ Barrett's number 4.
And
And
then
number
number-
10, just because I don't want to waste lots of time, I don't think you'd ever get it, is Brandon Clark.
Okay, yeah.
Like
I
9th man
probably
on
should.
the
I
Memphis
probably should
Grizzlies.
have got that.
But yeah, when you're thinking highest paid Canadian athletes of all time, he doesn't come into mind. He actually is tied with Connor McDavid. Brandon Clark and Connor McDavid make the exact same amount of money.
Crazy, eh?
They just put Connor McDavid ahead of him because his contract's longer.
Okay. Okay. So
Crazy
now
the difference
for the
between.
last 4 minutes, I'm gonna give you a couple players that aren't in the Hall of Fame for hockey. And I just want you to say yes or no if you think they should be in there or not.
Yeah.
Number 1, obviously he is not. Oh, he is eligible. Is Jaromir Jagr.
Oh, I'm surprised he wasn't first ballot.
Yeah, I think without a doubt he gets in there. Daniel Alfredson.
That's tough because they never won, but he did make a Stanley Cup Finals appearance, and he was very good. I think he will get in, but I think he'll be one of those that takes a while.
Okay. Pavel Datsyuk.
Yeah, it's so hard to not put in these early 2000s, mid 2000s Red Wings.
Jeremy Roenick.
Are you gonna give me any no's here? I think he gets in too.
Okay, Patrick Elias.
There you go. See, he did win a cup, maybe 2.
He won 2.
Yeah.
1,000 points too.
Yeah, dang, he was really good back in the day.
Played
Pretty
20
small though.
seasons.
That doesn't mean anything, but um again, he will get in, but with Elferson, I think it'll take a while.
He's to Chuck. A lot of people were surprised he didn't make it this year, so
Yeah, I mean, Keith Kachuk, I mean, did he never won, did he?
nope, 0.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Did he win any major awards?
I don't believe so.
No, me neither. And I mean, he like his points aren't ridiculous. Um, if he gets in, it's off the name. Um, big penalty minute guy. I don't know. I'm gonna say no.
Okay, and the last one, Curtis Joseph.
Cucho?
No
Uh,
championships, no Vesna, but he has great
yeah,
statistics.
yeah, he did have some great statistics. You know what? I'm gonna say no.
Okay,
And if he does, it's down the road.
for sure.
I
But yeah,
can't let my Leaf bias get
unless
in.
you have anything left, I think we'll end it there.
I think that's pretty good. I think well the NBA draft is tomorrow night. Obviously we know who's gonna go first, but I'm more
I think we lost him. I guess we lost him. Okay, guys.
excited the third overall pick.
We lost you there for a good 20 seconds.
Did you? Oh, I
Yeah.
was just saying how Portland, it sounds like they're either gonna look for a trade for Dame or the third round pick because I think they have the third overall pick. So I don't think Portland will have the third overall pick and Dame. So I think one of them is on the move. So we'll see.
Yeah, it should be interesting. But with that, we will wrap it up. If you guys enjoy, make sure you leave a like, subscribe. Lots of you guys are watching our videos now, and we appreciate the support, but you are not subscribed, so make sure you subscribe to never miss a weekly podcast. And we will see you next week.
So yeah.